Alrighty guys, what is up? Welcome back to the channel, and today we are going to talk about how I landed my first big copywriting client. Let's go. So let's take it back to last fall. It's a few months ago, and at the time I had 0 clients for copywriting. I had another sort of summer business that was going on, but it kind of slowed down a lot sooner than I thought, and so I decided to get back into this because I needed income. I needed to make money pretty quickly. It was kind of like struggling to pay rent. I literally did not have an income at that point, and I didn't really have any savings either. So I decided to jump back into this copywriting thing and take it seriously. Now, for some context, I have been learning about this, and I've sort of tried it for maybe a year and a half. I'd read about it. I tried to practice writing some emails. I'd done some outreach in the past, so I wasn't like a total noob, but I had never really gotten like a big client. I'd had 1 or 2 clients in the past, and one of them I was able to work with for a few months, and then they changed plans, and the other one was an agency that didn't really work out. I was kind of subcontracting for them. So the point being, I kind of knew what I was doing, but I also kind of didn't. So I had 0 clients at the time in September of the end of 2022, and so that's to kind of set the stage. I'm coming at this and I'm like, how do I make this work, and how do I land, my first client? How do I get going with this? So here's what happened. Basically, I mentioned mindset in one of the other videos, and this is important because I was kind of desperate. I was kind of relentless, and I needed to make something happen. And this is something I've heard again and again, as people say, kind of, if you don't really need to make it happen, then it might not happen, or it probably won't happen. So I was basically desperate for money. So I was sending a lot of these outreach messages to potential clients to try to pitch my service. And that is the most important thing, because if you're not offering this, if you're not pitching this, then how are you ever going to get someone to say yes? So here's how it went down. I was going on a Bumble date, actually, and the girl was super late, and so I was literally on my phone thinking to myself, well, why don't I just do outreach here? It was a Sunday, and I was like on my phone, but I was like, well, I could just start messaging people here. I could probably get 5 or 10 messages in before, this girl shows up. And so I just go on Instagram and I'm scrolling. I'm looking for just potential people to like message or whatever. And this brand comes across my feed, and it was actually through an influencer that I already followed. So someone that I've followed for a long time. I really like their stuff. I listened to their podcast, and I saw this come up, this post come up, and he was kind of sporting the product. And I'm not actually going to mention the product in this video because I'm just going to keep that, I guess, like private for now, because that runs into all kinds of other things with other people reaching out to them, and who knows. But at some point I can talk about that. But I just sent them the DM. I clicked on the post and the tagged product, and I go over to their bio. They had about 3,000 followers. It's really hard to get an idea sometimes, but usually a few thousand followers is a good chance that you can get through to someone who's a decision maker, because usually at that point the social media isn't like, subbed out to someone else. Anyways, I fire off a message, and I'll drop that message right here, the exact DM that I sent, and I'm like, whatever, may as well. I messaged a couple more people I came across. Basically, I write in like the health, self-development, diet space, anything kind of like related to that. But lo and behold, a few minutes later, I see a response, and in the message I had said, I can offer you a free sample. Just respond with a thumbs up if you're interested in that. And I get a thumbs up, and then I also get like oh, what's your address? Like, I'll send you some of the product. I'm like, whoa, like I usually don't even get a response, let alone someone saying, they're enthusiastic and they want to send me something. So I was like, awesome. And I was like, I'll have a sample for you, and yeah, that'd be great. Here's my address. Turns out that was the founder and CEO of the company, still running the Instagram page. So I didn't really waste any time. And this is another thing that I recommend in these situations. If you get an opportunity, speed is of the utmost importance. And I think it can sometimes make or break these deals. So already my mind was spinning on what I could write for this sample email, something that would be fun and different and catchy. And what I did was, I think right then, this girl still hadn't showed up for the date at this point. And so I was making notes on my phone. I was literally like, okay, I know what I can write down to make this like a good sample. And then I think it was that night, that same evening, that I typed it up in Google Docs and sent it over. And it was shortly after that I heard back. I think I said something like, if you like this, I'd love to get on a call. And then he was like, yeah, this is awesome. Like, let's set up a call. And this, that's obviously what you want to hear. But basically, for some context, like I'd sent out like probably a couple hundred messages at this point between Instagram DMs and emails. And I was barely getting a response, let alone someone who wanted to like chat about this. So there may be, a certain aspect of luck to this. And you got to be careful with that word. But basically what I mean is that you got to set yourself up to get lucky. So like, it turns out that when I got on the call, this was perfect timing. This guy was sort of doing the emails, but they weren't really putting that much effort into it. They weren't really writing very good emails or creative emails, and they didn't have the bandwidth to deal with that themselves. So they were looking for someone who could take that off their hands. And it was just great timing in that sense, because they needed someone. I was offering what they needed. But there's another piece to it that I think is interesting, which is I was genuinely excited about the product. I liked the vibe of it. I liked the influencer they were working with. So I definitely brought some charisma and some interest to the table, just in the sense of, I was like, I get what you guys are doing here. I like the mission. I like all this. So there was some genuine alignment there. I'm not going to say that's why I got the job in the end, why I got the client in the end, but I think that does all play a part. I was able to have like a genuine connection with the person when we did get on a call. So it wasn't really a sales call. I wasn't trying to I was trying to close them, but I wasn't like doing, these tactics or like, how can I get him to say yes? It was a very natural conversation where I was genuinely excited about what they were doing. And I said, I can help with this, and I want to make it a win-win if that sounds good to you. And then that's basically how it happened. He had a partner, so we had to go check with his partner, and then we got on a call together. They had some more questions, and then basically we just went from there. I gave him a number on the spot. I asked what they were doing per month, what they were making per month, and then I kind of spat out a number that I thought sounded good, and that included some rev share, which I thought was a good idea, and I'm really glad I did that, because turns out this brand was growing very fast, so that rev share became a big piece of my monthly retainer. So all that to say is, you don't know what message is going to land right, and you don't know, who you might end up talking to. But if you don't send these messages, and if you don't take these little opportunities to reach out, then it's definitely not going to happen. There's all kinds of different ways to do outreach, or to land clients, or to do this thing. But what I have done is typically kind of a personalized approach, which I think can work well. Now, I've also screwed things up. I've probably sent messages that are too forward sometimes, trying to sell my service or trying to position myself as the person who can help them. And what I've realized more is that in some ways I've probably definitely come across spammy in a lot of situations where maybe I could have just tried to be more helpful. But this is stuff you learn as you go. I guess what I'm saying is it's very nuanced. It's very nuanced when you're trying to land a client, and there's not always a plug and play situation. People might disagree with me on that. I know there's ways of doing cold email and automated cold messages that go out. There's all there's even ads you can run. You could run ads or do all these different things. But when people ask me, what should I put in my outreach, or how did you land your client? How are you doing this? I just have to kind of tell this story, which is a long story, because I can't say that it's definitely going to work and you can go do the same thing. But what I can say is that you can set yourself up for success by being genuinely, I guess, interested or following your interests, or doing this in a way that you are going to get that chance when it does come up. You're going to get that chance to have a conversation with someone that you can provide value to, and then that's going to be an easy close for getting a client. It's kind of like, if you ever like wanted to just talk to a girl, you wanted to go have a conversation, there's kind of two different dynamics. There's like, okay, do you want to go build a relationship? Do you want to be interested in this person enough for it to turn into something? Or do you just want to go like get a number and have it more like transactional? And there's nothing wrong with that. I think it's a great, whatever. Just go get a number, or, it's kind of like a thing in it by itself. But if you're looking longer term, you're like, what if this, what if I was more interested in them? Like, how would I go about this kind of? And I think the same thing is true with sales and with prospecting and with landing clients. It's less maybe, how can I kind of get something? And I kind of hate this stuff because people always talk about it when you're broke. Like, you don't want to hear it. Like, you need to make money, and you don't want to hear this kind of like, well, be interested in people. But I'm learning that that's kind of true. And the best way to kind of position yourself to get in these positions and to have these opportunities is really relationships, which typically takes longer, but it doesn't necessarily have to if you go about this the right way. And that right way is, I think, trying to be helpful, being genuinely interested, caring about the brand, and just trying to have a conversation. Maybe that's the takeaway right there, is whether it's the girl or the potential client, it's like you don't want to sell, something huge. You just want to get to the next step, which would be a conversation. And then when you have a conversation, you have more of a chance to show what you can do, show what you bring to the table, and then it can progress from there. So that's it, guys. That's how I landed my first big email copywriting client. And don't give up if you're doing outreach, or if you're new to this. Try to keep working the different angles and the things that you're interested in, or the people that you follow. I mean, there might be people who need your help who are kind of right in front of you, but you haven't thought of reaching out to them because it's not like the way you're thinking about outreach. But maybe there's influencers or people you follow where that genuine foundation of, you're like, I've literally followed this person for years, or I've listened to their podcast, or I like what they're doing, or I can relate to what they're doing, where you can come across with a more genuine conversation starter, as opposed to just, hey, quick question, do you want to double your revenue with email? I can do it. Like, that can work at scale, but when you're starting out, I think it's worth kind of working these more personal, relationship-based angles and going from there. So that's pretty much it, guys. That's how I got my first client. And I don't know, like, I kind of got lucky in some ways, but I also, like I said, I'd sent, a few hundred messages out to try to have these conversations, and this was the one that turned into something. So the takeaways are basically, there's a few of them. The one is like, have this personal approach, actually care about what you're doing. The other one is like, I think if you can blend more of like your work and life together. Like I said, this was a Sunday afternoon and I was on my phone and it seemed interesting, so I jumped at it and sent the message, as opposed to being like, oh, I'll put them on a list and I'll try to find their email later. I just jumped in and did it, and I think that's, that was part of what led to the opportunity. So that's all for this video, guys. Hopefully that's helpful, and I wish you all the best on your own copywriting journey. And one final thing I'll add is that I hadn't been on that many sales calls before. I didn't really know what I was doing. This was just conversational based. This was me trying to offer a win-win situation, and that's kind of it. I'd never sent an email in Klaviyo before I landed this client, and I had a ton to learn, but I was also ready to learn that. And going great. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. Please like it and subscribe it if you want more stuff like this, and I will talk to you guys soon.